Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still holding above these important support levels in the short term. We're currently oversold, but we have a brand new chart showing us where the bottom for this correction could potentially come into play. I'll also be going over some other important charts in this video, so make sure you're sticking around all the way to the end so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, make sure to hit the like button down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. But with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. It's right here, we're on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 6-hour time frame, and this range of supports between 58,000 and 60,000 US dollars is a major range of support that I've been talking about for quite a while now on the channel. In fact, for pretty much around a month now on the channel, I've been talking about these support levels due to the fact that we found huge support back here last month at these same sort of price levels. And so obviously the fact that Bitcoin is holding above these levels, this is great to see, because just 6 weeks ago, these were the levels that we actually bottomed out and we were getting ready for another bullish move to the upside. But keep in mind, right now, we're at the same sort of levels as we were back here, but in the RSI, Bitcoin is currently oversold on the 6-hour chart compared to where we were just there, which for the beginners out there, that means that the room to the downside for Bitcoin is limited, at least in the immediate short term, while we're sitting at these values on the 6-hour chart. But if Bitcoin has a bit of a sideways consolidation here, then that would raise the RSI a little bit, giving us more room to the downside later on, potentially. But as of right now, we are due to have some sort of sideways consolidation or perhaps a small bounce to the upside. But either way, it's very likely that over the next few days, we're going to remain at around these sort of levels. And then once the RSI and the MACD reset, then Bitcoin will choose its next move. And while we're on the 6-hour chart for Bitcoin, I thought I should mention that we do not see the RSI on the 6-hour chart enter into oversold territories very often. This is actually a pretty rare buying opportunity. The last time we saw that was one time during September, and the time before that was one time during June this year. And if you're looking at the corresponding price action to those same times where we saw the 6-hour RSI enter into oversold territories, they both came at a time where the Bitcoin price was bottoming out, getting ready for another move back to the upside within the next few weeks. But to be even more confident that we're at a bottom for this correction, I'd like to see the RSI enter into oversold territories on the 12-hour chart, which is this chart just here, because as you can see, we saw similar things on the 12-hour chart as well. We saw oversold territories right at these exact bottoms previously on the Bitcoin chart. And as of right now, we're currently not there just yet, but we are getting very close, which means that a potential bottom is not too far away, especially if Bitcoin keeps heading to the downside in the immediate short term. We would approach the bottom even sooner. But with that being said, zooming back into the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, what we have here is this fractal still playing out that I mentioned yesterday on the channel. If you missed yesterday's Bitcoin update video, I definitely recommend you checking out that video after you finish watching this video. But in that video, I basically explained that the price action right now on the 4-hour chart is strongly resembling the price action that we saw during September, but just on a smaller scale, as you can see. And so I basically said yesterday, for as long as Bitcoin is remaining above 58 to 60,000 US dollars, that range of support that we were just talking about, then this fractal is still looking pretty good here, and we could be due for a bit of a bounce back to the upside within around 3 days from now, approximately. Not necessarily a full recovery, but at least just a little bit of a relief rally in the short term, for as long as, once again, Bitcoin can hold these immediate support levels in the short term over the next couple days. Now zooming out to the daily time frame for Bitcoin and taking a look at this moving average. This is the 120 simple moving average on the daily chart. And this is definitely something important to pay attention to, because previously in the last bull market, for example, in 2017, this exact moving average provided huge amounts of support along the way up for Bitcoin. And just zooming in a little bit closer, you can really see how important this moving average was for Bitcoin back in the last bull cycle. And what's interesting is when we broke back below this level, that flipped into resistance, and the fact that Bitcoin could not break back above this moving average during 2018, and the fact that we confirmed that as resistance, that signaled to us that we were entering into a bear market for crypto. But if you're looking at this moving average in more recent times, for example, in 2019, this was major resistance for Bitcoin. And then the moment we broke above it during 2020, we immediately flipped that into support, and we held that as support multiple times here, especially during September and October last year. And so the fact that Bitcoin flipped this important moving average into support, like what we saw multiple times during 2017, that prepared Bitcoin for another major leg to the upside, which is exactly what we saw towards the end of 2020 and the beginning of this year. But the fact that Bitcoin went so long without retesting this moving average, when we did finally retest this moving average, we got one initial bounce, but at that stage, because of so much bullish price action that we had seen, we saw a natural reaction back to the downside, and usually the bigger the pump, the bigger the fall. So during May this year, we could not hold this moving average, average. And you'll notice the moment we broke below this exact moving average, that was when a lot of bearish price action started kicking in for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin stayed bearish for the next 2.5 to 3 months. And you'll notice here during the beginning of August, we still found resistance along that moving average before we finally broke above it. And then the correction that we saw during September was a perfect retest of this exact moving average, which we have finally held as support, which signaled to us that we were getting ready for another major move back to the upside. So this correction that we're seeing right now could possibly be another retest down towards the 120 simple moving average on the daily charts, which by the way, right now this moving average is coming in at around 51,000 US dollars. But keep in mind, this moving average is always changing in value. For example, right now it is ascending. So if you just use the current trajectory of the moving average and measure out where it might be coming into play over the next couple of weeks, if Bitcoin takes, let's just say, another 1 to 2 weeks to get towards this moving average, it could be coming in at more like 54 to 55,000 US dollars, which is very interesting because when we're bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from this low at around 29K back in July to this swing high at around 53,000 that we saw during the beginning of September, what we can see here was that September correction came right back towards the 50% Fibonacci level. Bitcoin dipped slightly below that level, but for most of this time, we remained above the 50% level, which was coming in towards 41K approximately. And so when you're looking at the Fibonacci retracement tool this time round, the 50% retracement level is coming in at around 54,500 US dollars, which comes in confluent with the 120 simple moving average over the next couple weeks, as we were just discussing. So I'm not saying that Bitcoin is definitely guaranteed to go down to those levels because nothing is guaranteed in these markets. But what I am saying is if we make it down towards around 54, 55K, personally, I will be buying a lot of Bitcoin. I will be going heavy into Bitcoin if we do make it down towards those prices. But as of right now, I am currently dollar cost averaging slowly into Bitcoin at the current prices. And that's so if Bitcoin continues to remain above these immediate support levels and ends up seeing a bounce sooner than expected, at least I would have taken some advantage of this dip so far. But obviously that's not financial advice. That's just giving you an inside look of my Bitcoin strategy. And looking at some other similarities between right now and the September price action, of course, we have the bearish divergences on the daily time frame happening both times here. And the first major move to the downside that we saw in the beginning of September brought the daily RSI right down towards around 43 approximately. And then at that stage, we saw a bit of a sideways consolidation and a slight bounce back to the upside before we had one last move to the downside later on. And if you're looking in the daily RSI right now, we're at the same values that we found support at back in that first move to the downside during September. So the most likely scenario right now for Bitcoin is over the next few days, it's very likely we'll enter a bit of a sideways consolidation, but it's still possible for us to have one more move to the downside according to the daily RSI. We still have some room to the downside, but we are approaching a bottom. And in fact, we're probably closer towards the bottom now than we are towards the top. At least when you're looking at the daily RSI, we are below the 50% level, which does mean that we are closer towards oversold than overbought on the daily RSI. And by the way, the last 2 times that we reached a major market bottom in Bitcoin, the daily RSI reached exactly this level, which is coming in at around 34. So if you see the daily RSI dip down towards 34, then historically speaking, at least in these last 2 times, they have been some of the best buying opportunities for Bitcoin that we have seen this year so far. And what's very interesting about the 120-day simple moving average is the fact that this exact moving average also works on the S&P 500 index, which is this chart just here. This is the S&P 500 on the daily time frame. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I shared the correlation between the S&P 500 and Bitcoin in my Bitcoin update video that I posted yesterday. So once again, if you missed that video, definitely check it out. Because for example, we saw a pullback in the S&P 500 in September, just like what we saw in Bitcoin. And recently, the S&P 500 has been going through a bit of bearish price action, just like what we've seen in Bitcoin as well. So this just goes to show that Bitcoin and the S&P 500 are still correlated. And it also proves that the 120 simple moving average on the daily chart is an important moving average to pay attention to. And I tweeted this out over on my Twitter, but I thought I should include it in this video because during any bearish price action that we see for Bitcoin, I always see a lot of new investors start panicking. And for new investors into crypto, that is a pretty normal reaction. But what you have to understand is the bearish price action that Bitcoin has been going through over the past 1 week is nowhere near the worst bearish price action that Bitcoin has seen in its past. For example, just last year in March 2020, Bitcoin crashed 50% in a single day. And even after that huge crash, Bitcoin still recovered. And even this year in May 2021, Bitcoin crashed around 50% to the downside in just 1 week. And even after that crash, yes, it took a couple months, but Bitcoin still recovered. And so far from the all-time high to where we are right now, at least at the time of filming this video, Bitcoin has pulled back around 15% to the downside, which like I said, is really nothing compared to what Bitcoin has seen seen before. So if you ever find yourself panicking in these short-term pullbacks, it's important to zoom out, look at the big picture for Bitcoin, and look at the current trends that we are seeing on the weekly time frame, for example, because as of right now, on the large time frames like the weekly chart, this correction is only a short-term pullback in a larger uptrend. And by the way, if you don't follow me over on Twitter, definitely make sure you're doing that. And the link to my official Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. But anyway, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed or got something valuable out of this video, make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. The Crypto World channel is extremely close to breaking above the 90,000 subscriber resistance level. Let's see if we can try and see a breakout before tomorrow. And as always, I really do appreciate all of your support in the channel at the moment. I can't thank you guys enough. And before you click off, for the new viewers on the channel, make sure you're checking out one of these uploads if you haven't already. In the bottom left, I've got a video showing you how I earn passive income every day on my crypto holdings. And in the top left, I've got a trading tutorial video showing you how I place trades over on Bybit. But anyway, that is really everything I have to say for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.